What's up, guys? Columbus Blue Jackets last night. My hockey disaster to start the season continues. Uh, they were pretty good in the first period last night, and then the second period just complete implosion. I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm not gonna have any actual plays today. Take the day off, reset. There isn't anything I actually really love, but I do have opinions on the whole college football slate as we have these Tuesday games now in the CUSA and Sun Belt going on. Middle Tennessee and Liberty. Liberty's gone up through the 14 to 14 and a half at this point, and they're getting 85% of the cash and only 62% of the tickets. It looks like the market is indicating on Liberty. It looks like there is money moving the line on Liberty. Liberty's an undefeated team, so I don't know how much value you can really get on them, but they appear to be the side there. Certainly they are the better team, so I don't know. I mean, that is the way that I would lean there. The weakest of the three games, I would say, Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. Western Kentucky has 62% of the cash, but 68% of the tickets are on the other side, on the home dog on Jacksonville State. I would lean with where the money is, of course. That tends to be where the smarter bets are. So Western Kentucky has gone up to 7.5. Jacksonville State, man, I mean, they have a pretty good record, and they continue to kind of be overvalued because of that record, I would say. The record is indicative. The record makes it look like they're better than they actually are, which I've said for the last, couple of weeks now. And last week, I did turn out to be the case as they they came crashing down to earth a little bit last week. Western Kentucky is the only way I would look there. It looks almost like a trap where you see these teams like they're both pretty good. They both have pretty good records, but Jacksonville State is getting 7.5 now at home. It just looks too easy to take Jacksonville State, a team that's got a good record, getting a ton of points at home. So I would tend to look the other way there. Western Kentucky laying the points, and then Southern Miss at South Alabama. All three of these, I think the favorite is actually the smarter side here. South Alabama's gone up to minus 18, so they've gone through the 17 and a half. They have 54% of the cash, even though 64% of the tickets are on Southern Miss. This one, I think South Alabama, everybody knows Southern Miss is not very good, even though they have been good in recent years, so they do kind of have that name recognition, but people see their record as not good. They know that they're not very good. I think they have one win. But South Alabama is a 500 team right now, and I think it makes this line look pretty big, where people are going to think maybe this is more competitive than what the line tells you it might be, but I think the opposite way. I think South Alabama is very underrated right now. They've had a tough schedule. I think both of these teams lost to Tulane. I liked South Alabama against Tulane in week 1 because South Alabama has a lot of returning starters. They have the experience from a team that I believe was a bowl team last year, but they did lose to Tulane. Tulane's a pretty good team. Then they actually won in dominant fashion at Oklahoma State and also played JMU, James Madison, who's kind of the class of their conference here, still undefeated. Lost to them by 8 on the road, which there's no shame in that loss either. So South Alabama's had a tough schedule, so you can kind of explain 2 of their losses that way, the Tulane and JMU losses. They're just good teams that they lost to. Although I think Southern Miss, also lost to Tulane, but whatever. The inexplicable loss South Alabama kind of has on the record that people might harp on is they lost at home against Central Michigan, which looks really bad, but this is a spot that I didn't notice on the schedule at the time, and I wish I had because it definitely was a spot to play Central Michigan. You can explain the loss because that was the week South Alabama was coming off that massive upset on the road of Oklahoma State, even though Oklahoma State might be down this year. South Alabama won at Oklahoma State in Stillwater 33-7, and they were coming off that monster win in their biggest game of the year, basically, over the big conference team that they get to play. And they had undefeated James Madison, who's leading the conference, in the next game. So that Central Michigan game was definitely a sandwich. So I think that explains why South Alabama lost that game. South Alabama would be the only way I would lean in the game here tonight. We have hockey. We have a pretty decent slate of games here. I don't know how much of interest there is here, really, that I would say. it looks like the line has moved way down on Vegas, and I don't know exactly why, even though on pregame here it looks like they're getting 73% of the cash, even though 56% of the tickets are on Dallas. This is a matchup between two playoff teams from last year. Vegas is undefeated, and I believe they're the returning Stanley Cup champions. So it looks like the line's gone down from minus 145 to minus 108. I don't know exactly why, and that's counter to these like percentages that I see here, because that kind of indicates that there might be money on the Dallas side, even though it looks like the market's saying there is money on the Vegas side. I don't know what to think about that. It's hard to read most of these hockey games right now. It becomes a little bit easier to read as the day kind of goes on. And I don't really see any like situations that I like, which is why I'm sitting it out. I think that the strongest play, if I were to play anything on the hockey slate, it would be Buffalo Sabres. And again, it would be me going against Tampa Bay. And as I keep saying, they're without Vasilevsky, so their goaltending situation is kind of a problem right now. They're a team that can definitely be scored on, but I think this is a spot where Buffalo is just undervalued, and it kind of looks like a trap as they're a favorite, very small favorite, and because they're at home, so the line is still saying Tampa is the better team, although not by much. Buffalo looks like they're getting 61% of the money, but 79% of the tickets are on the Tampa Bay side, and Buffalo has ticked up a little bit, so I do think there's reverse line movement on Buffalo. I do think that the smarter money is indeed on Buffalo there, and it's going against where the ticket percentage is. So I trust that market read. I trust that movement there. I do think the Buffalo is actually the smart money side in that one. Everything seems to indicate that that is the case. Buffalo is a team that doesn't have any wins yet, so it looks almost like a trap. Like, people know Tampa's the better team. It looks like, oh, you can get Tampa as an underdog price. It looks way too easy. I don't really think so, and I believe this is Tampa's, is it their third straight road game? I think it might be, so that's kind of a difficult spot to be in as well. Yeah, they started out with a home win, and then they went to Detroit, Ottawa, and now are coming through to finish their road trip. So one could argue, they don't want to go 0-3 on the road trip, so they're going to show up motivated here. The other argument against that is that a third straight road game is kind of a difficult spot to be in, playing a bunch of straight games on the road in not that long a period of time. Buffalo has one fewer game on the season, and I think they might have more rest too. And they're winless, so they're, of course, going to be motivated. And they have Tampa Bay, who's typically a playoff team, coming in. So I would only look to Buffalo there. Yeah, they have an extra day rest. They still haven't won a game, and they looked pretty competitive, at least against the Rangers. Against the Islanders. So there is that. And all their games, they've stayed like in the state of New York so far. The New York, New Jersey area, at least. No, I think they've all been in New York. Yeah, so whatever. I think Buffalo would be the lean there. And then we do have Major League Baseball continues with Arizona and the Phillies here. Diamondbacks Phillies, where last night the Phillies had a 5-0 lead, and it started to slip a little bit, and then Philly had to use their bullpen to save the game as it wound up being a 5-3 final. I was a bit wrong about that. Wheeler had a pretty good game. Gallen did not really have a good game. Gallen gave up 3 home runs, though, which is it's a little bit fluky when you give up a bunch of homers like that. But he was hittable last night for sure. But the Phillies had to use like the best of their bullpen. They used Kimbrel. They used their back end of their bullpen, their closer, some of their like setup men. So I think Arizona their bullpen might be in a little bit of a better situation coming into this game than the Phillies is. But I think the Phillies starting pitching matchup, they have the advantage in that respect, as they have Aaron Nola going. And I think he is the better of the two pitchers somewhat, but he's got a really nice... Well, Aaron Nola, I think, could be undervalued a little bit, too, because he's got a 4.46 ERA, but only a 1.15 whip. So that kind of tells you that Nola, his ERA should be better than it is. Like, that whip is pretty good. So the ERA is kind of inexplicably high for what his whip is. So he's been better than his ERA indicates. So you might find some value on Nola, but he's looked pretty good in the playoffs so far, too. So people kind of know what to get out of him. He's got 12 strikeouts and 2 walks in the playoffs, and 12 2/3. Really had a good start against Miami. I think he won both of his starts. or he won one of the two, I guess, and the team won both of those starts. The fact that they beat Atlanta when he started, he got 9 strikeouts against Atlanta. That was a nice start as well. The Diamondbacks are 255 off of lifetime. The Diamondbacks hitters in 55 at bats, so that's okay. That's mediocre. But I think on the Arizona side with Merrill Kelly pitching, he looks like he's the better pitcher because he has a 3.29 ERA, but his WHIP is a little bit higher than Nola's at 1.19. He's a bit older, and I think Nola has more of the big game experience because the Phillies have made these deep playoff runs recently. So I think Nola has a lot of advantages here, and he also has the advantage against the opposing hitters as Merrill Kelly in 59 at-bats has a 288 OBA against the Phillies. So that's not great. And it looks like the number has ticked up a little bit on the Phillies from minus 160 to minus 162, although it does also look like the ticket percentage is 80% on the Phillies, but 55% of the cash is on Arizona. So the market read, even though you see a tick up on the Phillies money line, it actually looks like the market is kind of signaling on Arizona here, which I don't know about that. I can just say that, so the market read, would lean Arizona a little bit, but like I said, so I think the Phillies are disadvantaged in the bullpen situation because they used the best of their relievers to finish off the game last night. The Phillies do, I think, have the edge and a little bit of value in the starting pitching matchup because Nola is better than his ERA indicates. His numbers are better against Arizona than Kelly's are against Philly, and Nola has more of the big game experience than Kelly does, I believe. Even though they're both experienced pitchers who've been in the league a long time, though. So I think what I would say about that is I would lean sort of towards Philly as a first 5-inning wager because I like them in the starting pitching matchup more than in the full game. And in the full game, I think it's less strong. Let's put it that way. That's what I would say. So no actual plays. Out of everything I just talked about, I actually think the strongest play might be South Alabama laying all those points in college football, but I'm not going to actually be on any of this. I'm going to take the day off, and tomorrow I'm going to have my NFL and college football videos come out. I do have a couple of NFL plays that I may already be on by then. If you know me, you might know what those plays might be already, if you know how I tend to look at games, but we'll see. Have a good day, and peace.